How's it going, everyone? Hey, my name is Mark, and we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about crowd effects, which is kind of the big new feature in Softimage 2013, which we shipped a couple months ago. I got a few examples loaded of some of the stuff you can do with crowd effects, like make awesome fight scenes with overly obnoxious punches and uppercuts. Who wouldn't want that to their buddy, you know, so you can wipe them all out. That's just one scene. I'm going to show you a couple different examples. Then we're going to build something. This scene right here is awesome. This just shows some of the path following or the terrain following you can do. Just keep an eye on his legs and his feet. A lot of this stuff is automatic. Some of this stuff was tuned out of the box. But there are tools that allow you to do this type of thing. And, you know, the awesome thing about crowd effects, at least, well, there are many, many awesome things, but one of them is just that you can easily, if I would select the right thing, change the number of characters you have. So if I want 49 characters, just re-simulate, and now I got 49 characters. So it uses ice modeling to actually create these characters on the fly. Let's go ahead and stop this one. We're going to show you some other examples, and then we're going to build something. So I should have that loaded. There we go. Stadium crowds we support right out of the box. You can say, build me a stadium crowd. It actually builds the bleachers for you. You tell it, all right, I want it, if you're inside of a box, I want you to do the handstand or the wave, whatever. Or a handstand. I'm watching Olympics, I guess. Anyway, so there's a bit of, you know, that going on wherever I move this box. And all of this stuff is actually really easy to do. So I'm going to show you a lot of the things that I've just shown you. I'm going to show you how we actually do it using Softimage, using the new crowd tools. So let's just go ahead and close that guy up. And I got one more version of Softimage running here. And this is kind of the scene that we're going to try to build. There are 700 characters playing back right now, all in real time. I've got an awesome HP workstation. I got an NVIDIA Quadro 6000, so a lot of that's allowing me to get this kind of performance. But a lot of it is just the fact that Softimage is multi-threaded, and it's got a lot of power under the hood. So 750 characters, all running, all simulating live in front of you at a pretty good frame rate. And I think that's pretty outstanding. So let me show you how we actually do all this. So I'm going to start off, just load up a blank scene, and we'll get started with some basics, and then we'll move on to some of the more exciting stuff that we can do inside of crowd effects. So we'll start off by just getting ourselves a brand new character. Now, for those of you familiar with ICE or familiar with Softimage, we've added this little 3-button area here for 2013 called crowd effects. And really what this does is it uses ICE behind the scenes. And for those of you that don't know what ICE is a fully multi-threaded visual programming language that you'll only find in Softimage. It allows you to build tools, build the deformers, do crazy particle effects. Well, last year we introduced ICE modeling. And ICE modeling would let you procedurally build objects. And everyone looked at me, and I was showing last year's demo because I didn't have crowd effects, but I was doing some weird stuff, and really wasn't all that compelling because we didn't have that final step in there, which was to be able to build crowds. And so now what you'll see is ICE modeling procedurally build these crowds, which is awesome. So I'm going to start off just by getting a default pedestrian. Now this default pedestrian has actually already been set up to do crowd effects for you. So we've given you a library of animations that come with it, and here's the character that comes in. Now this character is actually, it's built using the Motion Builder animation rig. So all the joints in there, any animation that you have in Motion Builder, you can save out as an FBX, load it up, and just pop it in this list right here, and you can use your own animation within this software. So you don't have to use these preset ones that we've given you. You can make your own. You can do whatever. And you don't have to use Motion Builder. You don't even have to use this rig. You can use your own rig. It can be a rig from Maya. It can be the biped rig from Max or any rig from Max. If you can get it to move inside of Softimage, you can make a crowd out of it. It's just going to come in like this. Then from here, you select what animations do you want. If you're doing a stadium animation, you're going to want stuff like hands going up and, you know, guy eating a burger or sitting down. But for locomotion crowds, or pedestrian crowds as we call them, where you've got characters moving, you're going to want something like a standing, a walking, a running, animations like that. So I'm going to select these three, I'm going to transfer them over here, and then I'm just going to apply them. Now, when I apply them, it's actually building a few ice trees behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what these ice trees are in just a second. But first, I'm going to close that up. And now I'm actually going to tell it to create my crowd. So I'm going to go under Crowd Effects Simulation and tell it, do I want a stadium crowd or do I want a pedestrian crowd? I'm going to choose pedestrian crowd. The stadium crowd is just like the one I showed you before. It actually builds you your rows of seats. So your guys are, you know, you say I want 10 rows by 30 people in each row, and it'll just build that automatically for you. So check that out. With literally 3 or 4 mouse clicks, I've already got a crowd setup. So if I select, let's just hide my default pedestrian guy there, and if I press play, or in this case simulate, check it out. I've got my characters moving forward, so they're doing something. Holy crap, that's awesome. Now the first thing that popped up was this property page, which is my basic emitter page, and really there's not a lot that you generally adjust on here, except for maybe the number. Like if I want 50 characters, I press 50. As soon as it resets, I've got 50. If I want 500, I type 500, I hit enter, and now I've got, bam, 500. And it's still pretty darn fast for having 500 real characters on the screen in shaded view, all running, all right in front of you. Very cool stuff. So let's actually go back a little bit, and I want to walk you through some of the default settings and parameters that we give you to adjust. Now, here's the property page for the emitter. If you go under the simulation button, we have a few other property pages that I can adjust. I can adjust things like the collision avoidance. That brings up this property page. I can adjust things like the, more collision avoidance tools right here. And lastly, we have some, we can spec the emitter, which we've already done. So we've already looked at the emitter. Now these two nodes right here, these two property pages, they adjust a lot of different parameters. So I'm going to move this out to the side a little bit. And if I increase the speed, you can see that I trigger them into a run. So they're going to walk real slow, slide this up. Now they're going to walk real fast, or they're going to actually turn into the run. So there's actually a trigger that determines when they go from the standing position to the walk and to the run. I can pull that up here under... Wrong one. I can pull that up under this guy right there. Inspect my animations, and you can see I've got my idle, my walk, my run, and my stride control. So I can change things like the acceleration, how many frames it takes for them to go from the walk to the run. I can drag that out and make it start a little bit slower, speed it up until I get that really beautiful blend that I'm looking for. Right now it actually looks pretty good out of the box, so we'll just kind of leave that the way it is. And let's set our target speed to 25 to get them to kick into a run. I'm going to decrease the acceleration a little bit. And now let's go and, let's go into ice. Let's stop playing with these little nodes, close all these up, and let me show you what I mean when we talk about ice. When I created that crowd effect, it added this simulation node, and if I dive into this, it actually created a point cloud. Now, at the end of the day, all a crowd simulation is in Softimage is a particle simulation with a lot of particles doing a lot of things. So I'm going to hit pause here for just a second and zoom in. All of these little blue dots that they're under, those are the particles that are controlling where these characters need to go. They're controlling the orientation, the rotation, and the vector, the direction that each one of these characters is going. On top of that, every one of the joints that used to be in our character, your joint rotations, that all gets converted to particle data as well. And the reason we do that is because Softimage's particle engine is probably the fastest particle engine on the planet. It's fully multi-threaded, so we can take all of those bone deformations and assign them to CPU cores. So instead of everything thrashing one core, I can have 32 cores thrashing and make this thing run a heck of a lot faster. However many cores you have, we're going to take advantage of them and make things faster. So not only are your particles controlling where the characters go, they're also controlling the rotations of all of these characters. Another neat thing that's really important to remember is this crowd is only one object. While there are, right now there's 20 characters on my screen, or 20 actors, when it builds the crowd, it makes one mesh. So if I bring this into Maya, there's one mesh. So instead of bringing in 20,000 objects takes a long time to load, a long time to make all the internal connections. It loads one object, one massive UV set, one set of envelope data, and it just goes. So it's really, really efficient in that way too, and that's what we use ice modeling for. Now, getting back to what I was saying, so let's look at some of the ice trees. So when I created that crowd, it actually built all of these ice trees for me. This bottom one here, get animation sources. These are my animation sources: my standing, my mesh, my walking, and my running. If we go to the next one, my emitter. Here's my polygon, or my particle emitter. And now here's what's kind of interesting too. If I double click this, if I double click that, I get this property page, my emitter property page. If I close that up and come over here and say simulation inspect emitter, it's the same property page. So all that's happening when I click on any of these buttons here is I'm just really double clicking behind the scenes some of these different ice nodes. There's my collision avoidance one. This is the inspect my initial animation. So again, we're just inspecting ice nodes. So we try to make it easy for novices to not have to go into ice, to allow them to just use these buttons here. People who want to get their hands dirty can dive into ice. And the reason it's fun to get your hands dirty in ice is because you can do some really, really cool things by just getting a little bit of dirt on your fingers. If you get really dirty, you have a lot of fun. But anyway, so check this out. If I open up my my emitter page, and I'm going to press simulate again. Maybe I want to make these guys a bit bigger. So I'm going to change their size. There's my size parameter. I'm going to change this to 2. And as soon as we get back to frame 1, doink, now we're going to have giants. Well, maybe I'm going to change them to 0.2. And now I'm going to have a bunch of little guys really, really running fast. They're like really, because it scales, right? As your characters get bigger, less stride length to cover the same distance. Well, what if I want to have, these guys not all be the same? I want them to be randomized. Well, that's where ice really starts to become awesome, is I can go type the word random here. Actually, before I type the word random, let me just show you all the nodes. So I mentioned ice is a visual programming language. These are all the nodes that we ship with. This whole big monstrous list, there's your if, then, your wild when, it's basically a language. I mean, it's just as powerful as C, except it's all multi-threaded. Everything you do with ice is going to take advantage of those extra cores. So generally, stuff that you author with ice is faster than what most people can code because they don't know how to code multi-threaded because it's really difficult. Anyway, I'm going to find a node here that randomizes stuff. So I'm going to type the word random, and I got all these different nodes that do random stuff. So I can get randomized value by range, randomized rotation, randomized around value. Let's do that. So I'm going to let's double click on this again. Watch this. I'm going to take the output of this node, this little green dot. Green dot just means it's a scalar value. And I'm going to overwrite the size value. So right here is the word size, and that corresponds to this guy right there. Watch what happens to this word size when I plug this in. I'm going to plug it in right now, and boink, size goes away. Size went away because this node is now controlling every particle individually, their size. Instead of every particle being 0.1, they're now some of them are upside down and negative. Why is that happening? Well, that's easy. Let's double click on that and let's see what's going on. Instead of telling the particles to be 0.1 or 0.5 or 1, we're saying, all right, particles, you're going to be a 0 with a variance of 2, which means we're generating -2 to +2 values. So that's pretty, that's not going to work for generating a character. So let's make the base value 1 and the variance 0.2. So now I'm going to get anywhere from 1 minus 0.2 to 1 plus 0.2, or 0.8 and 1.2. And if you look, now I've got characters of different size, all with their feet moving properly, getting up to a run like so. So there you go, our first little fun with ice. Not too bad at all. What else can we do here? Let's go take a look at their speed. Let's take a look at that real quick. So I'm going to go up here to this node right there. And our speed is being controlled by this slider right there, our target speed. And if I pin this open and we look at one other node, let's take a look at this guy. This one tells us what the target speed needs to be before we actually switch into a different, let me go back one. There we go. So we're saying, all right, if your target speed reaches 21, switch from the run, or from the walk to the run. Well, I've told the target speed to be 25, so we're always going to make our characters go into the run cycle. If I slow this down, they walk, speed it up. As soon as it gets to 21, they transition into run. But again, I'm doing all the characters all at the same time. So let's do this. Let's get another random node, randomized value by range, and I'm going to overwrite the target speed with that value. So now I got characters walking anywhere from 0 to 2. Well, that's not very exciting. So let's do like 22 with a variance of 10. So now I should get characters that walk. I should get characters that run. Some are moving a little bit faster than others. And it's on animated. You always want to make sure animated's off because every frame it's going to give them a new value. So now you can easily see, look, now they're actually starting to have to avoid each other. See that? That guy got out of his way. He got out of his way. Like so. So now some intelligence starts to get thrown in there. Well, what if I don't want to use a value to control my timer? What if I want to, or my speed? What if I want to make there be some kind of a trigger? Let's do that. Let's go and introduce a trigger to this. So ice is really cool because, again, it's a visual programming language. I can do something like get an if statement. So let's go ahead and lock this ice tree down. And let's type the word if. So I'm going to grab the if node and bring it in here. If is really fun because it allows you to really simply make different conditions for different objects based on a whole bunch of different parameters. Anytime you have a black dot right there, it means that it's an unset parameter. It means that it can really take anything, any kind of scalar value, a color, whatever. Excuse me. I'm going to take this black dot and plug it into target speed and overwrite that. So now it says if the condition is true, meaning this is checked or unchecked, set a value. I haven't set any value. So how about if it's true, I want you to be 5. And if it's false, I want you to be 25. So if it's true, they're going to walk at 5. If I uncheck that, now they're going to speed up and go to 25, all right? Fair enough, simple enough. I could also connect this randomized node back in there. So if it's true, they're going to go 5. And if it's untrue, it's going to be, they're going to go whatever this is telling it to be, which is somewhere between 22 and 32, right? Hopefully that all makes sense. Well, we can really take this even one step further. Instead of me pushing this button like a fool, why I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that during the middle of an animation. It doesn't give you a lot of control. Let's get a tester. So I'm going to type the word test. What testers do is they change this orange condition dot. There's a variety of different testers. Test if you're colliding with a surface. Test the current frame. Test what time it is. Test how close you are to a neighbor. Test if you're inside a piece of geometry. Test if you're inside of a null. Let's do that. We'll test if we're inside of a null. Let's go ahead and get a null. The null we're going to get, I will make a nice big box. So I just went and said get primitive null. I got a box. I'm going to increase the box size to 100 and not be a circle but a box. Okay, so now I've got this box that's about yay big. And I'm going to press the F3 key, which brings up a floating explorer. And the nice thing about ice is, well, there are many nice things about ice. One of them is any parameter off of any object you can drag into your scene. So all I want is just the name, just the node name of the null. So I'm going to drag that right into ice. So now this node here, get null, represents the name or this object's entity to ice. So I'm going to now plug all this stuff together. So I want to test if I'm inside the null. So I'm going to plug that orange dot into this orange dot, and that all turned red and yellow. Normally in coding, if you do like a divide by 0, your code crashes. Ice doesn't crash. You just get a nice little red cube that says, yo, that's red, and it shouldn't be red. So all right, what's it need? Well, it needs the null name. It doesn't know what null it's testing. So I'm going to plug this into there. Everything turns good. Check it out. If the characters are inside the null, they're going to be going a speed of 5. But as soon as they leave that cube, they start to speed up like we did before. And maybe we'll get rid of this random thing and make it something a bit more apparent. If they're in the null, they're going to move at 5. If they're outside the null, they're going to move real fast. And you may have noticed when it started out, look, those guys are just barely outside. So it's very accurate. They're outside. That's why they're hauling butt. Move them out, and they move. So you can start to build these really crazy, fun chains of logic. It looks complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. If we go ahead and stop this guy, let's go ahead and show you how we can bring some stuff in from Maya and actually bring this stuff back out. So I got Maya loaded up. I know a lot of you use Maya. A lot of you might want to do crowd. So here's our here's my Maya terrain. I'm going to show off my awesome Maya skills. I know how to select things. I can orbit. That's good. Anyway, I'm going to send this to Soft. So check this out. With your object selected, I'm just going to say File, Send to Softimage. And this is awesome. If you guys out there have the suites, this all just comes with the suites, right? Just send stuff to Soft, send it to Mudbox, send it here, send it there. All right, I just want to update my current scene in Softimage. Look, no hands. I'm not even going to touch it. Well, it should have snapped over to Soft. Oh, I am going to touch it. I'm going to minimize it. Oh, I didn't have Soft minimize. That's why. There we go. Maximize Soft again. And there it is. There's my terrain with the exact same scene that I just been working with you. So no hocus pocus magic mirrors. You just do that. Well, obviously they're kind of walking in quicksand right now. And let me scale this back a little bit. Make them all run like so. So yeah, obviously they're in quicksand. Watch how easy it is to make them follow a terrain. With the terrain selected, I'm just going to go crowd, add terrain, and let go, and now they're running over the terrain. Just that easy. Simple, simple, simple. Look at that. Traveling the terrain, everything's good. Hooray. So let's bring this back into Maya. Now we want to get our characters back. First, let's go ahead and add a bunch. So I'm going to inspect my emitter. Let's make 50 characters instead, like so. So there we have a little army of 50. We're just going to say simulation. Crowd rather. Export crowd as FBX. Let's give it a name. We'll call this Sig Theater. There we go. Click on OK. That's going to export 200 frames. It doesn't take too long. I'm going to Alt-Tab back into Maya, and I'm going to go File, Import FBX, and it's not in this directory. It is in this directory here. Sig Theater, there it is, next to Sig Run, Canyon Run, and some of my other cleverly named animations. Click on Import, and hey, check it out. There's our crowd right there, just the way it was before. Now, I can't alter the crowd anymore. Well, they're only showing me 24 frames. So let me make this 200. And I think I got to make this 200. There we go. So yeah, there's our crowd. Check it out. Just like we had in Softimage, author in Soft, send it over really, really fast, quick workflow, super duper simple. Close this guy up. Maybe show you another few things that are neat. Let's grab this guy. Let's turn on our proportional brush.
You have 1 minute, Mark.
I have 1 minute.
You have 1 minute.
Where the heck did my time go? All right. Well, I'm going to scale this up real quick. All right. Why isn't it scaling good fast? Come on, scale. There we go. So this is a proportional brush. Whoa, that's going to be monstrous. Who cares? Let's just do it anyway. So with the simulation running, I got my proportional brush going. I'm just going to grab my terrain. And look at that. Look how awesome ice is. It's always evaluating, always doing some sort of business like that. I can move geometry. It's just sticking to it. All right, so I'm getting candy cane. So I'm going to show you one more thing, which is a video that is less than 1 minute long. So, and where is it? So this is okay, I guess. I'm going to show you two is what I'm going to do. So I rendered this last night, or yesterday afternoon, rather. Probably could have set a couple values different to make they're bumping into each other just a little bit, which you may notice or you may not. Still pretty cool. 6,000 dudes. This rendered in just a couple hours, so not too bad at all. And we'll let this play a little bit longer. And I'm going to cancel that because I know I got to go. I'm going to show you one other quick video, which is, where'd it go? Oh, wait, wrong directory. Hang on. It's in here. Night run. That's it. So this is the world's worst camera move because it was about 2 in the morning and I said I got to go get some sleep. So I started this off rendering. But this is 30,000 characters. I had a machine with lots of RAM at the Intel booth. So I decided to have it get real hot last night and render 30,000 characters all in one pass, rendered with Arnold. They're just traversing the terrain, all following the collision detection. Yeah, 30,000 dudes rendered overnight, all in one pass. Pretty awesome. It's Softimage Ice. Someone's giving away a hard drive, I think, coming up later. Now when?
Coming up very shortly.
Okay, keep watching. You're going to get a hard drive. I'm Mark. I'm going to Intel now for a while, so if you want to see more Ice stuff, I'll be over there for the next few hours. Otherwise, tomorrow I'll be back here and in the AU Theater. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Woo.